I just pulled 100 leads, phone numbers, names, email address, LinkedIn profiles, everything like that for 15 cents. That's 15 cents for 100 leads. For comparison, platforms like Apollo charge $49 a month just to be able to extract 1,000 leads. If you were to use this tool, you could get that same 1,000 leads, but for $1.50. So now let's jump into a quick example. We're going to come across to Airtable. We can have our Apify JSON on there, which I'll show you in a second. But for now, we're going to come through, say we want the founder, we want the director, we want the C-suite, and we want the owner. We want 100 leads to come back. We're looking in the UK, or sorry, let's go back to the US for this example. We're saying that we want to do an accounting firm, and they need to have between 11 and 20 employees. There's many more options than that, but this is just a quick example. We'll come across, we'll execute the workflow, we'll press get leads, and now the rest is going to be done for you on autopilot. As you can see here, we've come through and updated the status to in progress. We're now going through and extracting all of those leads that are only going to cost us 15 cents. If we come back to the client list and we come down here, as you can see by us going up and up and up, we're now getting those over 100 leads coming back. We've got email addresses, we've got phone numbers, job titles, company websites, we've got their headline, the state, LinkedIn, lots and lots of different stuff in here that we can use. And then we're going to go through and generate a personalized LinkedIn message and email that we'll be able to send to them. So there we go. We've just got the 300 back. And if we come back across, our status is now also done for this specific request. So now we're going to go through and personalize all of these messages. So we're going to execute this bottom part in the background. We're going to come out of here and say personalized message. Now, what our process is going to do in the background is come through, extract all of the different leads, check that the company email exists for all of them. So if we come back to our clients list, we're checking that all of the customers' examples, emails in here work, and we've got a LinkedIn for them. We're then going to go through one by one with AI and write a personalized message for them. And you'll be able to customize this to include your company details and maybe a seasonal offer that you're promoting. For this example, I've just put it as Voice AI Solutions and that we're offering a free AI discovery. We're now going to keep looping through every single item, which in this use case is 93 different leads, and we're going to get a personalized email, subject line, and LinkedIn message that we can send to each of those persons. So there we go. It's just gone through and finished personalizing all of them. And if we come across into C, as we can see all of these different ones being personalized, everything from this 201 onwards. And this is just an example. You can fully tailor all of these messaging so that it works best for you. If we just come back across, this is going to go through, store it for the 93 different items that we've got, and finally update our status to be done as well. So now let's check out some of the results. We've got this example down here, number 3000. So first things first, we do have all of their contact details. We've got this individual's LinkedIn as well. So we'll just check that it's Oak City Accounting. Yep, and we've got Oak City Accounting, yes. We can check that the website opens up, which is correct, and it's the same individual. We've got some of the headline in here as well, different function level. We've got the company LinkedIn, which we can just open up as well. And this opens up so many different opportunities for you to reach out depending on what you're selling. So if we come back across, as we can see here, we've got a quick LinkedIn message. Hi Maribeth, I noticed Oak City Accounting has served the Raleigh area since 1993. They're one of your QuickBooks Pro advisors positioned itself as an extension of client staff, especially for medical and legal practice. So that would be the actual body of the email. We've then got a subject line in here, which we'll be able to check out. And this is basically going to enable us to have a really good personalized message. So in this use case, we've just got Oak City AI options for accounting. And if we were going to send her a LinkedIn message, we've just got this example here, which we'd be able to send her. So now in around 10 minutes, we've gone through and personalized 100 different leads so that we can reach out to them and increase our conversion rate. The reason this is important because the more personalized your messages are, the higher the rate of conversion you're going to see. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to build this lead generation system using n8n and Apify. I'm going to show you step by step what you need to do and how to build it. But if you want to get the resource straight away, make sure to click the first link in the description, come across to our community, into Classroom, down to YouTube builds and resources, and you'll be able to find it in there, along with 100+ other templates that you'll be able to use. So now let's go through how this automation works. We're going to come across to the executions, and we're just going to pull up the first version. So we'll copy to editor. So first things first, we're going to be using n8n as our automation platform, Apify as our data gathering and scraping platform, and we're going to use Airtable to store all of this data. If we come across to our requests table, this is where we're going to trigger the process. Now in this use case, you'll be able to access it in the community, but if you're building it yourself, you need to make sure that you have the structure of request ID as a formula. We've got the status, we've got long text for Apify JSON, we've got a button for getting leads, a button for personalized message, multi-option for seniority, number of leads in here, and then single select for location, company size, and industry. If you're doing testing yourself, using the direct Apify JSON's probably easiest, and I'll show you why. So first things first, what we're going to do is use a button request, and we're going to need to add our webhook URL in here to make sure that it's triggering our process in n8n. You could use an eForm or something like that, exactly the same process to trigger this, but what we just need to do is that we're getting all of the information in place, i.e. we want these different seniorities, this number of leads, this location, company size and industry before we start the process. What this will do is when you press the button, i.e. get leads, it's then going to send it across to this webhook here. If you've never used webhooks before in n8n, that's absolutely okay. You just need to come across to plus, we'll do webhook. This will give you a unique URL for that specific webhook. If you're using it in testing, use the test URL. When you deploy it, i.e. turn it on so it runs constantly in the background, you'll need to use the production URL instead. You'll also need to activate your environment so it's constantly churning in the background. If we open up the example we've already got in here, we're going to be using a GET request because what this means is it's going to be constantly listening in the background to receive the information that this process is going to send across. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if we collapse this down, what we'll see is we've got this record ID being passed across. If we come back to Airtable, as you can see on the left-hand side here, it's exactly the same ID as that record in Airtable. What our HTTP request is doing in here is, if we just zoom in, is we're defining where we want to send the data, and then we're saying the information it needs to send across is the ID of record ID. So it's sending across that body of information for us to be able to use. That's how we can extract one specific row. What we're then going through and doing is we're going to update our status with Airtable. So if you've not used that before, again, Airtable, and then we're doing update a record. If you want to come through and connect your Airtable base, you need to make sure you use your access token. We show exactly how to do this in our setup tools module within the community. But if you've never done it before as well, come down to here into Builders Hub. You then want to go through, create a new token, add all of the different scopes, and it will give you access to all of your bases in Airtable. We're going to come back across though and just come into our n8n again. If we come into our status in progress, what we're using is our Apify lead generation base, which is this base here, and then we're selecting from our requests table, which is this first table that we've got here. So if you've got multiple different tables that you've got in Airtable, for example, client list, maybe you've got LinkedIn messages in another one, emails in another table, and so on and so forth, you just need to choose the different ones. What we're then doing is, if I close this down on the left-hand side, is we're looking to match based on the ID. So each of these rows in our requests has a unique ID. So because we passed it across, what we're looking to do is just simply match based upon that, and then we're updating our status to say in progress. What we're then doing is, because we've made this change, we're also going to get all of the information for that specific row to be passed back across to us. We're then using a simple if statement, which is basically going to check, have we provided the raw JSON in here, yes or no? If we have, then we'll use that. If we haven't, then we'll use the information that's been specified in here. So if you're using it yourself, maybe you've come across to Apify and used this JSON on here, which I'm going to cover in a second. But if you're running it maybe as a service and you've added in all of the different options, that would just use all of the information here. If we come back across, as we didn't provide the information from Apify, the raw JSON, what we're using is a code module. What n8n enables us to do in this use case is run JavaScript to actually extract all of the information. What we're doing is running through the seniority on the left-hand side here to put out all of the different job titles, as in seniority levels, that they're looking for. We're then mapping them into a stringified array. And what this means, as you can see here, is we then got option 1 of founder, option 2 of director, option 3 of C-suite, and option 4 of owner, ready to go and to be passed across to our Apify instance. And the reason this is important is because they're some of the key elements we need for our request. So if you want to use Apify, make sure to come across and do Apify. It is a community tool, so you will need to go through and install it. If you come down to your settings and you come across to community nodes, I've got an entire video which I'll link down below and in the caption now, so that you can come across and install it nice and easily. It'll make this entire process much easier than trying to use lots of HTTP requests and sending the data back and forth over the internet. So if we now zoom in, we're now using the Apify node of run an actor and get data set. You'll need to make sure that you connect your API key. Again, in the community, we show you how to do this nice and easily. We've got a quick video that walks you through, but essentially we're just adding our API key from our account. So what I'm going to do is come out of here. We'll just get rid of that old one, and then I'll just load this in the background, but we're going to come across to Apify. So what is Apify? Well, it's lots of different pre-built connections, both from Apify as well as the community, used by lots of different leading organizations, that enables you to extract lots of different data or enrich data based on all of the different actors they've got in place. So what do I mean? Well, for example, we've got TikTok scraping, Google Maps scraping, all of these different ones we can extract data from. And if you're worried about how much this costs, for you to extract over 100 leads, it's only going to cost you $39 a month to be able to run this continuously in the background, and then it will just take off your allowance every single month. But to get started, we're going to log in to our console. What we're then going to do is find the lead finder, which again I'll include in the notes, so that you can come through and specify all of the details. You need to make sure that you're on a paid plan if you want to go over 100 leads that you want to extract. Otherwise, all of the free plans are capped at 100 leads. And if you're worried about pricing, as mentioned, this will be $1.50 per 1,000 leads. And each month, Apify is going to use what you've paid as the budget. So think of it as 39 divided by 1.5. You'd be able to run this 26 times or extract 26,000 leads per month. So massive economies of scale compared to using elements like Apollo and other ones out there, which cap the number of extracts that you can do every single month. So if we come back across to our request, what we're looking to do in here is define all of the different options. So as you can see, starting off, we've got the number of leads we want to fetch. We can use any files that we've already got access to. We can specify different job titles to either include or exclude, the seniority level, the different function levels, as you can see in here. We've got the locations maybe you want to include, you don't want to include or exclude. We've got the email status. I recommend keeping this unvalidated because you don't want to be extracting ones that you can't contact. What is worth noting as well is with this, you can also enrich it with other tools like Zero Bounds to make sure that you're actually reaching out to a 100% validated email. You can add any company websites, the size of the companies, any industries, and they've got lots and lots of different ones in here to either include or exclude. Any that mention specific keywords, a specific revenue, any funding opportunities, and much, much more. You need to make sure that you come down and save it, so it basically tags it to your account for you to use and find nice and easily. If you add some dummy data in here, like I've done for the UK country to include, the founder for the senior level, and so on and so forth, you can then come across to JSON. And this is where it will be much easier if you just specify all of it in here versus replicating it in Airtable for all of the different options. What you can do is just copy all of this JSON, come back into here, for example, paste it into the long text version, and then the process that I've built enables you to still extract and personalize all of the leads automatically. So if we come back across, what we've now done is connected it and added in through our settings, our API account for us to be able to use it. We're going to come back into n8n, and now what we'll find in our extract leads and get data table is that we're able to run that actor, find recently used actors if you've saved it to your account, and that lead find the one that we've just run through. As you can see, we've then gone input JSON, which is exactly the same as the body of what you've got in here. So that's where you can either actually go through and copy and paste this across and run it in here, for example, which is what this second node will enable you to do. Or if you've pre-specified it in Airtable, it's then going to pull that data into here, like you can see. So for example, because we specified in our status in progress update, what we're doing is the company industry. If I get rid of that, if I then put across the industry, what we said is we're looking for accounting companies. And one of the features I love about n8n is on the right hand side here, we're able to see exactly what would be sent across. We're then going through and doing exactly the same for contact location. So again, get rid of this, put across contact location, and then it will specify United States. So this is how we can make it nice and dynamic based on the data we've got in Airtable or a Google Sheets or Typeform or anything like that to process the request. When you send this off, it's then going to go and start actually running the actor. As you can see here, it took 7 seconds, 30 seconds, 38 seconds to basically go through, extract all of the data for us, and provide it back into our n8n. How do we know that we've got 100 leads? Well, up the top here, you'll see we've got 100 items we're able to process. If we zoom out, we'll then be able to see on the right-hand side here again, we've got first name, last name, email, phone number, job title, LinkedIn, company, headline. We've got company LinkedIn, we've got the year founded, so much information we can use to enrich our actual personalization. What we're then doing is simply passing this across. So we got option 1 or option 2, and then we're going through to our Airtable node. So what we're using in here is a plus Airtable, and this time we're using create a record instead. We're going to choose our base, which again will be lead and then gen, and we're using Apify lead generation, which is this one. Again, we're specifying we want all of the information to go into client list, and then you simply just want to put across all of the different information that you need. You need to make sure you've added all of the different columns that you want to keep within your Airtable or Google Sheets, anything like this, so that it knows where to store it. Once you've gone through and, for example, pulled all of this across, you should get something that looks like this example. So now we've specified all of the different fields we want to save and where we want to save them in the column, we can execute the step. The other important thing to do as well is at the bottom, I've included in the last column, the request ID. The reason I've done this is because then we can tag it to that request in the first place. What it also means is when we then personalize the messages, it's not going to go through and personalize, for example, the 300 different ones we have in here. It will only go through and personalize the 100 that we had tied to the accounting 11 to 20 company, 11 to 20 people in the US and the 100 leads that we had. So that's how we can keep a control on how much we're actually processing at a time. Once it's gone through and stored all of the different leads, we're then making sure we only execute the rest of the process once. So that's where we come through and update our status in the requests to done. So now we've gone through and stored all of the different leads. Again, having 1,000 for $1.50 is incredibly good value for money. Now we can go through and personalize them. In this use case, we'll just come through, and as you can see, it took about 12 minutes to personalize the last 100. So what we'll do is just load that in and see how it went through. Again, we're starting off the process with a webhook node, which is plus and then webhook, and we're using the URL here. If we come back across, we're adding it in here like we can see just before where it says the question mark and ID. You would replace that with your URL. Don't worry, it's in the resource and nice and easy. And then we would go through, pass across that specific request. If I open up the example that we had earlier on, what you'll now see is exactly the same as we had before. That record of 4WG and then DLC at the end, which is this one here for 4WG and then DLC at the end. So if we come out of here, we're then updating our status again to be in progress. But what we need to do this time is use an extra Airtable node to search for records. The reason we're doing this is because if you do a plus Airtable and then search records, what we need to do is connect our base up. So Apify, lead, and then gen. We'll just add it in there so you can see. And then what we're using is our client list table. But what we're looking for is at the end, we've got a field called request ID. So we'll just copy this, come back across, add 2 curly brackets in there to tell it the column we're looking for, equals 2 quote marks, change it to expression, and then we're just going to put across the actual request ID, which will be this one here. So now we're going to look for this request within our leads. So we're only going to extract the ones with the DLC, as you can see at the end here. So if we come out of here, what we should then have is the 100 different leads ready to go, which, yep, we can see on the right-hand side here. So that's how we can go through and personalize the ones correctly. What we're then using is a filter node in here. So just do plus and then filter. And then in this use case, what I'm doing is putting across email and saying that it exists. So what this means is if I just open it up, we're only reaching out to people that have an email specified. So what you'll see is out of the 100 we extracted, there were 7 that didn't have an email. So if I just show you, it goes last name, email, mobile number, whereas the ones that don't go last name and mobile number. So we don't want to store that because maybe we're not able to reach out to them. Or if you wanted to change this, it could be, and we've got LinkedIn exists. Now it will make sure that both a LinkedIn URL exists for that individual and we've got their email to follow up with them one-on-one. If we do, then what we're going to be able to do is I've added a set node in here, which is where you can go through and either hard code your offering and your company details, or you can make it dynamic by adding another table in here, for example. But what this will do is then be passed into our basic LLM module to personalize all of that information. If you've not used this before, we come up to plus, down to AI, and then you just want to find the basic LLM chain. The reason I'm using this, and we change it to define below, is because now we've got the option of all of the different LLMs basically available for us to use. So it gives us lots of customizability in the future. And we don't need all of the extra actions that an AI agent would do instead. If I open this back up, what we're doing is passing through lots of information. Don't worry if sometimes it's red. That's just because, again, out of the 100 that go through, these fields aren't always populated for every single one. If I come through, what we're saying for the user message is the client full name, the client first name, we got job title, the company name, industry, and so on and so forth. As we can see on the right-hand side here, we've got an example with Jamie, with JSN Consultants, and all of the information to do with their business. How we're putting it across is if I close down company details and open up the filter on the left-hand side here, we'll get rid of, for example, full name and put it across from the left. And that's how we're populating all of these different fields. So if you want to go through and add in or remove any of the different customizations I've added in here, you can do that nice and easily. But the important part is down here, our system prompt. What we've done is pulled through, as you can see in green here, our company details from that set node. Think of it as like a variable, and added that second one in there. And now we're going through explaining the task that the agent's gone, some critical guidelines, the tone of the messaging, and the example output format that we're looking for. So this is where you would go through and customize it maybe on any tonality, branding style, wording, anything like that is unique to your organization. You could also come through, and if you wanted to, change it to be more of an AI agent, to add in a pinecone or different vector databases, to pull in the latest and greatest information as you need it. We're also turning on require specific output format, because if we come down to here, we'll have this extra option readily available. What it's going to enable us to do is, as you can see on the right hand side here, is make sure our outputted data is in a nice structure. If I show you what that looks like when we don't do that, I'll just re-execute this with a limit. So we just do 1. What we'll actually get instead is just pure blob of text that comes back, or as I specified it, for example here, we'll just get like a raw JSON string that comes back versus a nice, neatly formatted version instead. And there we go. Instead of having that nice structured data, we've just got a lot of text coming back. So that's why we turn it on. It gives us a much better structure for us to then use in the future. I'll just plug this back into here. And what we've done in here is specified the format that we want. And if you've not used this before, don't worry, it's just JSON. What this means is we're defining, say, a field here. So for example, personalized LinkedIn message. And then we're saying with these colons here, it's going to equate to a text string. You don't need to worry about the contents within this. The main part is we're saying this is going to be text, versus if I just put 100, we're saying it's a numerical value. Or if I put, for example, true, we're saying it's more of a Boolean, so true or false. So you just need to make sure that you've got some quotation marks in there and a quick summary of the data you want stored. We're also going to turn on auto fix format just to reduce the amount of errors that you may get with the workflow. So now if we come out of here, we can also choose the different LLM modules. For this, I've just used ChatGPT 5 Mini, very, very cheap, inexpensive model for us to be able to go through and personalize the messages. We're then, as before, coming through and updating a record. So again, Airtable and then update a record. And in this use case, what we're doing is going through and then we're adding in all of the different data. So if I just re-execute the step before, so we get it in that nice structured format for us to be able to use, what we're saying is that we're going to our client list table, as you can see here. We're then going to be looking to match based on each row ID to make sure we're only updating the correct row. We're going to turn on typecast just to make sure that it doesn't have any issues mapping the data type into Airtable. So there we go. We just got our updated structural response back. We're saying we want to match on the ID, not the other columns, because of course some people could have the same name. We're going to use the get leads ID, as you can see in here. And then what we're simply doing is coming back to our personalization, removing where we've got, for example, LinkedIn messages, and pulling that across. And that's how we can go through and then store each of the individual, unique, and personalized messages for each person. And there we go. Now when I execute it, as you can see, we've got all of that data ready to go with that personalized information at the end. And if you come across, what we'll be able to see is if I open this up, actually, let's do the personalized LinkedIn message. We've got, hi Jamie, notice JSN consultants focus on small business accounting. If we come into here, what we should see, hi Jamie, notice JSN consulting, as you can see there. So it's accurately stored it in the correct place. And if you wanted to customize it, you could do that nice and easily with the instruction in the basic LLM. We're then again limiting the rest of the process to 1 and going through and just simply updating the status in our requests table to be done as well. And that's how you can go through and generate hyper-personalized leads for incredibly small amounts of money, whether you're using it for your own business or selling it onto another business. Make sure to subscribe if you're interested in AI and automation. Drop any comments down below of anything you'd love us to build or follow-ons for this. Come across to the community if you want the template, and stay tuned for more around AI, automation, and have a great day.